the handy dandy read. All right. This is Mike Barbaro, chairman of the.
Yeah, Mike, you don't have a quorum because I'm not a member.
Oh, that's right. I gotta wait for what's his
You
name.
gotta wait, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I could act for the FinCom, but I would like to give Chuck, he told me he was gonna be there tonight.
Yeah, I sent him all the information, so,
And we don't have Tony.
right. I just sent Tony a text, so. Let me see. You know what? I'll just give Tony a call. Hang on a second. Yeah, Tony. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Okay, thanks. Okay, cool. I'll talk to you in a minute then. Bye. Yeah, Tony will be on in just a minute, so let me
Okay.
read the beginning of it while we go through all this.
You have Chuck, so I'm gonna mute.
All right, thanks. This is Mike Barbaro, Chair of the Audit Committee. Please confirm that all members or persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Larry Murphy? Nope. Charles Quartz?
Here.
Dr. Chris Cassavan?
Yes, here.
Myself. And Tony Roselli will be on in a second. Good evening. The open meeting of the Audit Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order on March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website along with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting is convened by via Zoom conference, as posted on the agenda found on the town's website identifying how the public may join. This meeting is being recorded and some attendees are participating by video conference accordingly. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting ground rules. Before we can turn to the first item agenda, please permit me to cover some ground rules for the effective and clear conduct of our business, ensure accurate meeting minutes. Anyone participating via Zoom must display their first and last name. All members of the public will be muted by the meeting host. If the member of the public would like, we're not doing any public comment today. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. As they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each member by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, participants other than the Audit Committee, which is only Mo, please mute or use your phone computer when not speaking. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. So it's 6:04, and while we have first item of business tonight would be I had spoken to Michelle Como about wanting to be on the Audit Committee. She said she still wanted to do it. I said we would vote her in tonight. And I had all the information sent to her, so I don't know what happened, but I know she's still interested. And I'm still waiting for Tony to come on. He's just going through his email. So, would someone like to make a motion to accept Michelle Como as a member to the Audit Committee?
So moved. I will do the second if you'd like, Mr. Chair.
Charles, can you do the?
Yep, second.
Thank you. This will be a roll call vote. Charles,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Moving on to our next item on the agenda, Mr. Tony Roselli. Good evening, sir.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
Give me a second.
No problem.
Yeah, Linda had sent me the Linda had sent me the link, and I was looking for it under your name, and I couldn't find it.
Gotcha.
And then when I got the link, it asked me for a passcode. Usually the link, I can just click on it and go directly. Then it asked me for a passcode, so I had to scramble around for the passcode. So I apologize, but I'm on now.
No worries.
I'm not technologically great, so.
Join the club. No
But
worries.
is this a new member, Charles?
Yes. He is
Okay.
a member from the Finance Committee. Mo is observing this evening.
Okay.
Down the bottom, Linda is on as host right now, but she'll shift off, and Taylor is recording the meeting.
Okay, so there's 3 members of the FinCom right now?
Yep.
Okay, so let me hang on one second here. I'll put this off to the side. So you want me to just go through the management letter basically, like
Yep.
we normally do?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So, okay, so this is for the fiscal year ended 2020. Basically a very challenging year, as you're all well aware, with the pandemic and social distancing and everything else that kind of took a priority over anyone that wanted us to do audits. When we were trying to get into different town halls, they were like, audit, are you kidding me? You know, we don't want to see you. We're dealing with you know, people that are really sick and making sure people don't get sick. So it was a challenging year all around. You folks had it under really good control. We were able to get in there in the summer. I don't think the early stages of the COVID hit you folks that bad. So we were actually able to come in and do some work, which was good. And we just recently completed it. The schools, as usual, the schools were trailing, a little bit shorthanded. They did get some extra help. And finally completed everything we needed. So we finished everything up probably about, I'd say about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we finally finished everything up. So happy to be reporting tonight. So let's go through the management letter real quick. Go on to page, look at page 2. So the good news is that the town, even though you're in the middle of a pandemic. So I look at some of my communities out on the eastern part of the state, the larger cities and towns that rely a lot on permits and hotel excise, meals excise, all that sort of stuff. They rely to a great extent on that. They really got nailed at the end of the year with the close down in the last quarter. And you folks didn't get impacted quite as heavily as they did. In fact, not even close. The beginning of the year, you guys had some strong economic indicators. You had some good revenues, and you ended the year good, even though you had the quarter was not as strong as it would have been without the COVID. You still ended up pretty good. You ended up at 3.5 million in unassigned fund balance, which was over 10% of the general fund expenses. So that's a huge cry from where you were back in 2014-15. That's a really, really nice number. It shows that you folks have done a very nice job of managing the financial side of the town. And each year, the unassigned fund balance has gone up every single year. So hopefully that trend can continue. Your stabilization funds, which are also part of that unassigned, this is an extra money, it's part of the unassigned. Those increased to about 1.2 million. Your controls continue to improve. And the deficit debt is gone. It's in the rearview mirror, hopefully never to be talked about again. It's slayed, done, paid off. It was a 10-year note. You paid it off, I believe, in 5 years, 4 or 5 years, it's gone. So, so this town has really done a great job of surviving, and now you're in that mode where you're starting to accumulate reserves to better the future, which is exactly where you need to be. And I think this was nice. It was a nice job. The state kind of choreographed what they wanted you to do, and you folks went out and did it. So great job. Next, there are some challenges. Town manager, who was a big part of this turnaround, is going to be sorely missed. He's on. You got a new town manager coming in. School superintendent is retiring, another big position. The town treasurer retired, another big position. And school business managers, we usually have a new one every year, so this is nothing new. But again, you've got another school business manager that you need to hire. I believe right now you have a interim superintendent that does have some school business manager experience. So that should help leverage this interim period of transition at the school department. Which, by the way, I just want to, before I go too deep into this, I want to say that the school did a much better job than they have in the past. Things seem to be turning around there, so hopefully that can keep going too. I want to give them some kudos where it's deserved. They did get rid of a lot of our findings from the prior years. Any questions before we go on to the next page?
Not seeing any.
Nothing? Okay. So some informational items. I just, you guys had your network assessment done a couple of years ago. There was a little booklet provided by the consultant. I just want you to stay on top of that. I just put it in here as a reminder because of the social distancing and the remote aspects of conducting things these days. It's important to just keep making sure you're secure, you're protected, and no one's coming into the system uninvited to steal any data or anything like that. So, or hold you hostage. So again, that's just a reminder to stay vigilant in that process. Long-term obligations, we had started to talk about this last year. So you've got basically two long-term obligations. You got your pension obligation and your OPEB obligation. The pension, you're part of Worcester County. The state mandates that you pay an annual assessment. That's required. It's by law. So whatever is approved by the state for the actuarial study, you have to pay the assessment related to that study. The problem with Worcester County is they're not as well funded as many of the other pension systems in the state. They're only at, I think it's still under, it's about 47%, when most of them are starting to get to 60% or higher. So what's going to happen with Worcester County is probably in about 5 or 6 years, in order to meet their fully funded goal, I believe of 2034 or 5, the pension assessment is going to spike, and it's going to spike pretty hard. And I'm predicting that that's going to happen in about 5 years. So I just kind of want to put that out there, that when you're going through your strategic process, you should be understanding that out there when you're doing your long-term forecasts, you may want to start factoring in a spike in the Worcester County pension, because they got a goal to get fully funded by a certain date that's about 13 or 14 years from now. So that's important to understand. One of the things that we're telling some of our communities or advising them is to maybe stop putting some money away in a pension stabilization fund, so that when that spike occurs, if you've got money put away, you can draw from that stabilization fund to try to keep your pension assessment level funded, because you're getting some from that pension stabilization fund. So a lot of my clients are beginning to put some seed money into these pension stabilization funds and putting what they can in on an annual basis. What complicates the process here in Winchendon is you've got this OPEB issue that you've got brewing too, which you haven't funded anything really. You've put about $12,000 in the last 10 or 12 years. So it's going to make it very difficult for you to actually keep up with both the OPEB liability and the pension liability. So again, this is something that I'm highlighting. When this does become a problem, a major problem, say 8 or 9 years down the road, who knows who's going to be around that's in the room now. So we really need to start laying some framework for this.
Mr. Barbaro, may I ask a question?
Go ahead, Mom.
Tony, can you tell me what the town pays now to the Worcester Pension Fund?
You know, I'm not 100% sure, Mo. I'd have to do a quick research on that. Let me see if I can pull it up.
I think it's over $1 million.
A year?
Yeah. And we pay it in July. And because we pay it up front, we get a discounted rate.
I'm just wondering if we looked at, like with finance, if I'm talk with Tom and we look at using some of the stabilization or the free cash to maybe do, 3 or 4% a year so that we have some.
It's just short of $1.6 million.
Okay, 1.6.
Yeah, just shy of $1.6 million.
Thank you. And I know the OPEB, we're at about 14K now with the interest, but you're right. They put that in 12, 13 years ago and they haven't funded it since.
Right, exactly.
Thank you.
All right, let me just get back to where I was. There, okay. And let me pull up my screen. All right, I'm all thumbs on this, but yeah, so again, I just wanted to highlight that. You guys are getting into a really good situation financially, where you've gotten rid of that deficit debt. You're building reserves on an annual basis. You're at more than 10% reserves. So this is something you really need to start thinking about it. Your Worcester County is underfunded on their pension. That's going to start catching up. And the town on the OPEB, and the OPEB, let me make it clear, is just a voluntary contribution. It's not mandatory like the pension. The pension is mandatory. It's described by law. You have to make it. The OPEB, you don't. It's purely voluntary. And you fall into the situation when something is voluntary, it gets done last. So you're going to increase other positions. You're going to bolster other services. So a lot of communities fall into this trap where they don't really have much put away in OPEB. So you're not alone in this respect. But again, I just wanted to highlight it. Next. So under observations, page 4, one thing I wanted to really put out here, it's not a finding, but I wanted to really put it out here because you got a new treasurer. So back about 5 or 6 years ago, the tax titles were not being done efficiently in the town. The money used to hire attorneys to do tax title never made it to the budget. It always got squashed, so it wasn't part of the budget. So tax titles fell behind. When we brought it up in the management letter 6 or 7 years ago, you got a nice little spike in taxes because you went out and collected all the old stuff. And Donna did a really nice job of keeping up with this every year. It was actually a nice little revenue boost each year. And your taxes are due May 1st. You can do your tax titles within 14 days. You can send out your demand notices and start working on your tax titles. I wanted to make sure that the new treasurer collector was aware of the fact that this is very important in Winchendon because it becomes part of your free cash at the end of the year. And you have to do this timely or you're not going to get the collections before June 30th. And it does not become part of your free cash. So again, like I said, I didn't want to point it out as a problem finding, but more as a make sure your treasurer collector is looking at this because they need to get on this.
So I had a meeting with Lynn, the treasurer collector, 2 days ago, and told her that this was an important revenue stream and that she needed to be on top of this and to be sending, I call them the nasty grams out. So she's on top of it and aware of that then it needs to be followed up with.
Okay, good. Yeah, because typically you get the demand letters out by the middle of May, where you threaten to advertise people. If they're not in by a certain date, then they'll pay. Within 30 days they can pay. So you do have it before June 30th, and then the ones that straggle, you end up doing the advertisement on. So, but the goal is to get as much as you can in by June 30th.
Oh, absolutely.
I think with COVID last year, that the tax title was not done as it had been done in the previous 4 or 5 years. So I'm not penalizing Donna for that, because obviously everything was shut down and nothing was happening with collections, and the state was actually advising you to defer collections for people. So I think last year's kind of fell a little bit behind. So if she didn't do it this year, now you got a double hit. So I think, it's really important, like I said, to just stay on top of that. Okay, payroll audit. We had recommended that that you guys do an internal payroll audit. It hasn't been done in a long time. We did a sampling in fiscal 19 and found that there was some items missing, like W-4s and different small items, nothing to burn the house down on. But we felt that, hey, if we're finding a couple of things missing in 20 samples, what exists if you look at the entire payroll base. So we had recommended that somebody go through the files and start looking at, what are we missing, and let's make sure that we've got these payroll files complete. I know it wasn't done in 20 for obvious reasons. A lot of these things got kind of put on the back burners, but it's something that should probably be done, by the town accountant or the treasurer. And then, so there was really nothing else on the town side. The town side was very clean. I think we had one other comment just on capital assets before we get into the school, that an inventory of capital assets has not been done in years. I think it was last done in about 2008 or 9. So each year what we do is we add the new assets in, like you buy a new police vehicle or some equipment from DPW, but I'm noticing that we never really dispose of anything. And I know some things are obviously being just either sold, traded in, junked. So it may make sense. And I sent to Joanne a list of all the assets, and I sorted it by department. So I said, hey, send these to the department heads, Public Works, Police, Fire, and have them cross out things that no longer exist and add in anything that we may have missed over the years. So I thought it was time to do that, because like I said, it hadn't been done in about 10 years. So it's always good to have a complete, a nice capital asset inventory. So hopefully Joanne's on that. And then on the school department, most of the finding, now, if you remember, if you go back about 5 years, it was probably about 4 pages devoted to the school. And every year it got a little smaller. I think last year we were down to about 1.5 pages. Well, we've got, I think, three or four findings here. There's really not much here. I think Joan did a really, really nice job. She's wearing so many hats over there, and she's killing herself basically. Every time I talk to her, she's just very just overworked, it seems. So it was nice to have Tony Mertz come in, who is I've known Tony Mertz forever. She's a gal that knows a lot about municipal. Has done a really nice job in other towns that we've worked together on. So I think she helped Joan get through some of this closing to make things a little easier, a little more efficient. So you had 3 findings on the federal awards. 2 of them were final reports that just didn't get done in time. Time and effort certifications were not maintained. And there were 2 vendors that were awarded a contract without the federal competitive procurement process. So those are 3 items that were left. I'm hoping that those get corrected for fiscal 21. And then on the end of year report, there were 3 items. There was a lease schedule, that was not provided, and that's new this year. So I expect that's a finding on almost all of our end of year reports. So it's not really a big deal. Tuitions to private schools was categorized incorrectly. And then there was some support for riders for the special education that we were unable to secure. So just a handful of things that I don't call material right now. The final reports, we used to have about 10 or 11 of them that were late. We're down to 2. So I think time and effort was a finding that they didn't have time to fix, because by the time they got the report and everything with the social distancing, so I'm hoping that that gets fixed in fiscal 21. So I want to give the school a good report, just because they've accomplished a lot. They've fixed a lot, and hopefully they can maintain that momentum and fix this handful of findings that's left. Any questions?
Anybody got questions?
I have one.
Chris,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chair. So Tony, with the special education tuitions, wouldn't that just be a simple, yeah. Can't they just redo that? Send it, I'm gonna call it an amendment. I'm forgetting.
Yeah, they've done the amendments. So
Okay.
this is all
Yeah,
fixed.
That's an easy fix, obviously,
Yeah.
just to take out the day versus to, okay.
Yeah, this is all, they did the amendments. This is all fixed. These were just the findings that we
got you.
reported to the state
Okay.
from the report. So all of these items are fixed.
Can I say something, Mr. Barker?
Go ahead, Mo.
Tony, too, I think that when you first did the audits for the school, if I'm not mistaken, we were into 2.5 pages of grants that were not closed, inappropriately closed, not funded. And I think we're down to 5 or 6 right now. So that's another area where Joan and company just did a tremendous amount of work.
That was an enormous mess.
Yeah,
That did
that
get
went back
sorted
to
out.
2007,
Yeah.
2008.
Yep. That was just an enormous task. They spent a lot of time on that. It took a while to figure out, but and with the help of the state and DESE, they did get that under control.
Yeah,
So
I just think that if we're having a tri-board meeting, if you're making notes on what to give kudos on, that to me is much more of a hill that they climb than just reclassifying some of the special ed stuff.
right.
Oh, absolutely. I know Joanne was also involved in a lot of that too.
She helped a whole lot, yeah.
Oh my
But
God,
I
they
mean,
spent endless hours.
no one was here 15, 16 years ago. So for them to go back and do that research and to get the feds and the state to forgive some of those things because of past practices was really great, because it could have cost the town a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it was close to $300,000 that
or
you ended
more.
up avoiding having to send back
Yeah.
to the state, which was
That's
great.
right. That's huge.
And the big thing with the school is turnover.
Yeah.
Every time they get to almost solving everything, there's turnover and it goes back to the problems.
Yeah.
And so it's really important right now. It's at a really good spot and you're about to go through some more turnover. So it's really important to stay on top of this and maintain this sort of momentum and keep it going.
Turnover and process. If they can write down their process and continue to do that properly, they will be okay.
Right.
I would also say, and I'm a broken record, and I don't know what, I think it was Thad that you were saying that had the business manager experience, but
Yeah.
you can't be both.
No.
And that will ultimately be the undoing for all of us, is that Tony's right about, it's not just turnover, it's finding folks whom will take you cannot be the business manager and the superintendent at the same time. You can't. And so I think that'll always be. Now, granted, the process and the procedures will certainly help, Mo. I agree, right? So folks know, but like grants are the one thing. If nothing, I think about them, I shudder to think about grants, because especially with ESSA 1, 2, and 3, the rules around those grants are something.
They have hired a grant manager. So
I'm
think
glad.
that will help a lot. I don't know how much actual training or background knowledge that person has, but they are willing to learn to do it correctly going forward. So that should help a lot. And with Joanne helping and not having this division where it's not my job and throwing your hands up,
Sure.
that will help a lot because they keep on top of those things.
Well, I'm glad.
And I don't think they've had a really, I mean, you helped them out, Chris, your business manager helped them out. And so for 2 years, they've been in flux. They might have had somebody for a couple of months here and there, but they've had nobody who's been there for any length of time.
Yeah, it's the ownership piece, right? So someone can come in and do the books,
Yeah.
can do the numbers of it, but you're right about the fact that someone needs to be there to at least to remember, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's right, we purchased X, Y, or Z. So
So
I mean, again, we don't need to. It's all good news. So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
certainly
when
not
you
throwing a
think of
bucket
what they
my
accomplished
gosh,
and the roadblocks they had, I mean,
Right.
it's phenomenal.
It
Yeah,
really is.
no,
It
it
really
is. It
So-
Thanks,
absolutely
Mike.
is.
So you sure you wanted to be off this committee, huh? Anyway, so Tony, what do you think in the direction that we're heading? Do you and I'll fill you in as I'll fill the rest of the board in. We have some upcoming business that will really be able to change the dynamic fiscally of the town. When that starts to take place, we should start really concentrating on the OPEB and banking more into the Worcester retirement, like the reserve account. Is that what you're recommending long term?
Yeah, to set up a, have the town meeting, create a pension stabilization fund. You don't have to put anything in it, just have them create it. And then start to think about putting some money away in that fund each year, even if it's $20,000, $30,000, it's gonna earn some interest. At least have something so that 10 years from now, you've got some money there so that if you get a spike in your assessment, you're not faced with this 18% spike. You can say, hey, we can grab 8% from the stabilization fund that we've created. And it kind of levels things out. But that is definitely going to happen because Worcester County is at 47%. That is, I think, the third lowest in the state.
Wow.
It's not in good shape at all.
I
So
know
we're
we're
gonna
getting
have to
increases
rent,
every year right now, so that's
well, their increases were the highest that we saw. Worcester County retirement was the highest.
So they've started that spike, Chris.
Yeah.
You're seeing
I
it.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw, and again, I don't have my notes, but it was the highest that I've seen easily in 5 years, but across the board.
If we even did 3% a year, that would be 48,000. And we always have that from free cash. We just have to be more aware of where you put that free cash.
right. I think if we go to the fall town meeting and set up a pension fund with these other
Yeah.
businesses coming online, we can allocate some of that funding to it.
And I will bring that up with finance, FinCom as well.
Awesome.
And the thing with OPEB is that when you are fully funded on pension, that liability, that annual assessment's now going to drop. So in 2034 or 5, when you become fully funded, you're going to see this severe drop in pension. And at that point, what many communities are saying, that's when we'll start to target the OPEB with a plan of fully funding the OPEB by like 2050. That's kind of the long-term
Right.
approach that I'm seeing out there. Let's put a little bit into OPEB now, but let's focus on the pension more. Put a little bit into OPEB, and then when we get out to 2035 and there's no more pension, we can start to really hit OPEB.
Right. I know Keith had wanted to fund it last year, but when the pandemic hit, we put basically everything on hold.
Right.
Make sure we rolled over as much money as we could. We were very fortunate this year. We put the money we got from the state, from the reserve stabilization account they made us go into. We banked that basically with the finance committee this year and used that to supplement any shortfalls we had, which again allowed us not to touch anything other than the money we had tucked off to the side.
Yep.
So I think that was a very smart move on his part to do that.
Fortunately, that there was a huge chunk of that money that went to the overspending on a certain department in town, so we didn't get to use it the way we had intended to use it.
But it was there. It was
It was
there.
there, thank goodness, yeah.
Yeah, because we would have run into a problem earlier in March. I'm well
Yeah.
aware. I'm well aware of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
All right. Anyone have any other questions for Tony at this point? All right.
Nice to see you, Tony.
Nice to see you too.
Tony, we have to vote to do your option for this year. I'm understanding that correct, right?
Yeah, we have, I looked at the contract with all the changes and everything. I went and took a look at the contract. We have one more year
Mhm.
on the original agreement, which is an option year for the town. So if you guys want to option that in, we can start thinking about the schedule. If you guys don't want to, let me know. It's up to you.
Okay, I'm quite comfortable going with the option for this year. Everybody else okay with that? So can I get a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion to pick up the option year on Mr. Roselli.
Second.
Any further comment on this? Not seeing any. Charles,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye also. Tony, so we're gonna pick up that option. You know, you've worked with us through the worst of times.
Mike, I
Yeah,
think you have to take that recommendation to the
Select board.
boss.
I do.
Yeah.
I will take it during the meeting, but I wanted to make sure that we have
Okay, yeah,
agreement.
just,
Yeah.
yeah,
So Tony, you work with us through the worst of times, let me tell you. And from what I'm seeing from my view, the best of times for Winchendon are coming up fiscally, which I think I talked to you about anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's important where you've got so much transition going on. I think the last thing you want to do right now is switch up your auditor, because we probably have more information in our brain than all the new people that are coming in. So I think it really helps that process along. And then next year you decide, is it time to get a new fresh set of eyes on this, or do you want to renew, or any of that sort of stuff? But I think for this year, you're making the right decision. And hopefully the board of selectmen agrees, and we'll see you again next year.
Yeah. So what I'll do, Tony, I'll contact you for the tri-board meeting so we can present to them.
Okay.
But that I have like meeting after meeting right now, so I have to figure out when we can get together, because town meeting's coming up. So, but I will release this information to both boards, the FinCom and School Committee and Board of Selectmen.
So just so I'm clear, so you want us to do this presentation again, like for the tri-board?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let
Yeah.
me know, and I'll put it on my calendar.
Yeah,
Let me know when that
I'll
is.
talk to you about your schedule, because I have to look through my schedule. I'm bombarded right now.
Yeah. No, me too. But
Yeah. Okay. So can I get a motion to accept the findings and the audit from Roselli and Clark, please?
So moved.
Can I get a
Second.
second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Charles,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Well, thank you, Tony. I will be in touch with you as soon as I get everybody together to figure out when we can hold the tri-board meeting.
okay. Thank you, guys, and
Thank you.
hopefully we see you again.
You got it.
Mm.
All
Okay.
right. I don't think we have anything. Oh, we have some minutes from February 13th. 23rd of last year. I gotta go find my meeting minutes. There we are.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
And do we have enough people to vote on them? I guess that would be the,
I wasn't here for the February 6th. That's the only minutes that I think I have in my folder. Or am I
Yeah,
missing
and
something?
looking at the minutes, the attendings were yourself, Mike, Mo, and Larry.
yeah, so we'll hold those off.
Chris, you weren't here at that meeting? I thought you were.
Not on February 6th.
This was 2019,
That's what I'm saying. I'm
or
only looking,
2020, rather. That was last year.
Yeah, I'm just looking, okay, the minutes I'm looking at.
Wasn't Chris here, Chuck, on those minutes?
It doesn't have his name
It
listed.
doesn't have me listed.
Oh,
I don't think so.
okay, then I don't know that you'll ever be able to approve those, Mike.
That's gonna be interesting. Well, no, he can abstain. Charles is new, so he's good to vote.
But he can't vote on them because he wasn't here.
Wow, so this is gonna be challenging.
Yeah, and so, and then with it, when you're gone, there, you won't be there. So there will be nobody to vote. So they'll be just sitting there in Never Land.
Abstention.
We'll have to figure out a way to handle that. I'll ask, I'll get in touch with Linda. She'll know.
Chris, how do we do it at the school? Because we have school committee members that change out.
Yeah, but I think that they don't, on purpose, they don't change out wholesale as much. So
Yeah,
there's probably enough for a majority to vote. So even if 2 need to abstain for whatever, or 2 are new or whatever,
Yeah.
usually have, say, well, in Gansett, there's 8. So at that
I mean-
point.
I mean, even if Larry was here, Larry could motion, Mike could second, and you would have 2 for, 0 abstain, 0 against, and that would pass. But Larry hasn't shown up, and that might be something that you connect with the school board chair, because this will be his 4th meeting in a row that he hasn't shown up for. And if he doesn't want to do it, let somebody else get
If
on.
and you're right about that. If you, at the next meeting, then you
Yeah.
both could vote, at least get them on the,
Right,
on the
yeah.
record.
Let me-
But the next meeting would have to be before May 17th.
oh,
Right.
yes, sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
couldn't we, you could post a meeting that just, the only actionable business, of course, is to vote. the
Minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Let
then
me-
but if Larry doesn't show up, you're,
we're not
again,
doing anything, yeah.
yeah.
So can I get a motion to table the minutes at this time?
So moved. Sure.
Second.
Yep.
Thank you. Let's be a roll call vote. Charles,
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Let me get in touch with Larry. Let me see what we can do. If you guys would send me your next schedule, what you got for free time.
What time, can you give me a rough estimate of time, what?
I'd like to try to get the minutes done within the next 2 weeks.
Mike, are you thinking of a tri-board meeting before the town meeting?
Not happening.
Because you won't be here to present Roselli and Clark if you don't do it before May 17th.
Right, but they'll be able to reorganize with the new member and present.
Yeah, I was just thinking if you had a tri-board meeting, you could do your minutes before the meeting started.
Right, yeah, let me put some feelers out. I just know that I've got a meeting Monday, a meeting Wednesday, and another meeting on the following Monday, so yeah, I'm running short on time.
Yeah, because we usually do have that before the town meeting, so, everybody knows what the fiscal, and I think it's important that people see how well the school and the town have done before they go to vote at town meeting.
Right,
So if you can fit it in, it would be kind of critical.
let me get in touch with Tom and Roanne and see what we can pull together. Hopefully I can get it done. I'm just looking at my schedule for the next 3 weeks. It's like,
You can do it.
I keep coming down to less meetings and getting more. I don't know how this is happening. With that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
A motion, yes, so moved, yes. Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, thanks. Charles,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. We're adjourned at 6:40.